Hello, my name is Franklin, and I'm with.
Leigh,
And I met Lee today at the vendor craft fair. And what is the organization that you help with?
versus K-9 for veterans.
Okay, so what does this organization do, and why did you get involved in it?
I am a retired service member, 23 years in the military,
Okay, wow.
and the program itself, we take veterans and dogs, and we train them as service dog teams to better enable them to work within their communities and become productive, and be able to actually face a lot of things that other people don't even see that veterans have a problem with.
Mhm. So what would be some of those things that this helps with that veterans
Okay.
maybe have a problem with that this program helps with?
So you've got several things. Our dogs, they're trained for, we've got one that's trained for diabetes.
Oh, wow.
We've got actually another one being trained for diabetes, trained one before in the past, one for seizures. We do a lot of PTSD and anxiety.
Mm.
And so what that entails is I've actually had a veteran come through my program that couldn't even go into Lowe's.
Wow.
Could not go, he never hardly ever left his
Mm.
house. And so his wife would go do all the stuff. And so it was hard for him to come to class. So he actually made it to class, and he made it through the course is 6 months long, and then it just literally continues afterwards. But afterwards, he was able to go in to Lowe's or to Walmart or to a store and not develop a panic attack and crumple down into a ball or run out of the store crying.
Now I'm just kind of curious, like how does a dog detect diabetes, or how does a dog help with PTSD
Okay,
and things like that as well,
so
or
yeah,
post-traumatic stress
stress syndrome, yeah,
disorder?
or traumatic brain injuries, all kinds of
Wow,
things. Um,
you're doing
so,
all of that in Grove.
yes, we train out of the American Legion in Grove.
Okay.
So uh, let's take diabetes, okay? And the last one that we worked with, his name is Buddy, and he's the American Bulldog and Pit Mix, okay?
Mhm.
Flat nosed dog. I really did not think the dog would be able to do this, but it surprised me. So a dog's nose has millions of times more scent
Mhm.
cells in it, and it's made differently than our noses.
Mhm.
So they can smell the faintest change in your pheromones.
Mhm.
So when
And
your
what now? You're saying
body,
pheromones. What do you mean
so
pheromones?
what
What is that?
happens is your body starts to undergo diabetes. So if you're going, so you have your blood pressure tanks,
Mm.
and your body starts to go into a diabetic coma. At the very beginning, the dog can smell your body changing,
Wow.
can literally smell it before you do, before you know, before anything. And a lot of times, these dogs that are the diabetic dogs that we train, because they have learned how to do this, if there's somebody sitting in like a waiting room at a hospital or something with you and somebody else has a blood sugar issue, the dog will hit on the other person too.
Wow.
So, yeah, so it's pretty cool to watch.
So when you're doing this, or these veterans are doing this training, is this training to help with these dogs, turning them into service dogs? Is that for other people, or is that for the veterans themselves
That's
that
for
are doing the training?
As for the veterans themselves, I don't have enough people to help me to do for other people, and I know there is an inordinate amount of individuals, even in Grove, that could use a service dog.
Hmm.
But I just don't have the funds or the capabilities to do that. So right now we're working with the veteran organization. We are a 501c, so we work with either donations or fundraisers, and because of that, our funds are limited.
Mm.
Um, our overhead is not very high. It's We teach out of the American Legion. They don't charge us anything. We give them a donation
Okay.
for letting us use the place. But most of our funds go to veterinarian expenses because we do bring in dogs and foster dogs, and some very expensive dogs are donated to us, which can cost us some money.
Mm.
So there's a lot that goes into it, and the veterinarian bills are kind of expensive enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
For the first few years, I was paying for this myself.
Wow.
It was kind of
So did you
expensive.
start this? Did you
Started
start
it
this
in
org?
Oklahoma City
Okay.
in another program. Then we ended up with 6 instructors, and we just separated from where we were at, and then started our own program in Oklahoma City. I moved up here to Grove almost 3 years ago, and when I moved up here, my brother was like, "Why don't you start one up here?" I was like, "Okay." And then the more I got into it, then I was like, "Oh, there's so many veterans up here, and so disabled
Mm.
veterans." Delaware County has the highest number of disabled veterans in Oklahoma.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yep.
Hmm.
Disabled veterans, yes, it does.
Wow.
So I mean, there's so many of them,
And so
but
this program is for disabled veterans.
mhm.
What are the requirements if someone wanted to be a part of this? You have to be a veteran. It's disabled, and what
Mhm.
else?
So pretty much, I want to see a DD 214.
What's a DD 214?
So when you get out of the military, whether it was a basic training stint or 23 years, you're going to get a sheet of paper at the end
Hmm.
that says you're done.
Okay.
And we call it a DD 214.
Okay.
And every military person gets one. That DD 214 tells you everything about you, all your awards, all your years where you've served, what schools you've been to, and it tells you if you're honorably or dishonorably discharged.
Okay.
So that's what we need to see. So we need to see an honorable discharge. We need to see that the veteran, and that right there tells us that he's qualifies because
Hmm.
he's a veteran.
Okay.
Um, we need to see, I would like to see um, either some kind of a letter or disabled veterans get a certificate that says what your disability rating is.
Okay.
So that letter or something that says you actually have this disability. Because once again, I don't have the time or the funds to do every veteran either.
Gotcha.
So so that's what I need to see. Then I also want to see like the dog's shot records and things like that.
Okay. So you're not providing the dog, is that correct? Or
Sometimes we do.
sometimes you do, but sometimes it's the veterans providing the dog as well. It kind of just depends.
It depends. That's a
Okay.
big depend because training is best for a dog that's between 2 and 4.
Hmm.
Um, if the veteran does not have a dog that is close enough within this age range or doesn't want to use the dog or whatever, then we can assist that veteran with getting another dog. If they have a dog, then we go in and evaluate that dog and make
Hmm.
sure that the dog will perform as a service dog because not we don't base our training on breed, we base it on personality.
Okay, so what are the type of personality? What makes what makes a good service dog? Even outside of if it's being for the veterans, I know there's a lot of other people that
Mhm.
have service dogs as well. But based on your experience, what is the personality of a good service dog?
So your good service dog, you'll notice when you go into a store and a real service dog walks in. That service
What's the,
dog is
now? Some people say they have a service dog.
yes,
Well, you said a real service dog. But
yeah,
anyway, go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah. You can tell the difference if you just say 2 people walk in and one of them has a service dog that's gone through training. Any of the service dog trainings, not just mine,
Hmm.
but any of them, and then you've got one that is the Amazon service dog. All right. So these 2 people walk in. Your service dog sees this other dog and goes, yeah, it's another dog, hey, and continues to walk. The Amazon service dog goes, starts pulling at the lead, starts pulling the owner around. The owner will be yelling at the dog, stop, sit, whatever. The dog ignores them. Our veterans and our service dogs, when you give them one order, they do it. And they'll stay there until you release them. They stay by your side. They don't pull at the lead. They don't drag the owner around. They don't try to go smell the meat in the meat locker. Uh, stuff like that. So the personality, I guess, is one that is flexible. Service dog has to be flexible because they are in just as many situations as the veteran is. All right. They've got to be fairly, I'm going to say laid back, not submissive. There's a difference, and not, and aggression is not always a bad term. Okay, just depends on the dog. Um, but you want a dog that you know when you work with it, the dog is going to be fairly quick to learn. Um, Fairly easy to train. It's just working. It's like they're just like children.
Okay.
Okay, they are, and you do have those dogs that have an innate aggression problem.
Hmm.
Okay, and they are not always pits. Um, but you can't control. Now, a lot of times we can work that issue out.
Mm.
And there's a difference between um, aggression and reactiveness. There's a difference. Okay. Most every dog that comes into our class on day one is reactive because they're not socialized to be around other dogs and people and places. So they're stressed beyond means. And that stress comes out in several different behaviors: panting, barking, hiding the tail, tucking the tail, snapping at other dogs. That's not an aggressive dog. That's a dog that's reactive because his stress level is up here,
Mm.
and he can't deal with it all at the same time. So that's what we do. We go in and we look at the dog. Can this dog handle what we're fixing to put it through?
Okay. And so this is a 6-month training process
With us, yes.
with you that gets that dog to the point of being that.
Out the door, yes.
Okay. Now you said there's 3 different levels. And when we were talking before this recording, like 3 different levels of training,
There's
like
phases, uh-huh.
3 phases. Can you tell me what are those phases?
The first phase is the longest and the hardest. We do what we call the Canine Good Citizenship course, which is an AKC registered program. It teaches all your basic commands: sit down, stay. It's what PetSmart does. So they get that training. In addition to that, they get so much other training that any person, an individual with a service dog needs to know.
Mm.
There's so many other things that goes on outside of just having a well-behaved dog. So we go through situations, we go through variations of the dogs, we go through the Americans with Disabilities Act, we go through, and I test them, and I question them. And so, yeah, so one of my students who did graduate is here as well. So she will tell you. And it is really come that first test. All the veterans are, well, we also do it for emergency personnel.
Oh, emergency personnel
We
too.
just included
Wow.
that. We just
Okay,
included that.
interesting.
Yeah. So it's veterans and emergency personnel,
Okay.
either active or retired.
Wow.
We just opened that up. So that's why I'm not used to that.
It's okay.
But and then I forgot what I was
And
going
then
to say.
okay, so you talked about I think two
Yes.
phases.
Okay.
Then what's the third phase
Okay.
for the training for the service
Okay.
dogs?
Well, all of that was phase one.
Oh, that's just phase one.
That's just
Okay.
phase one.
Okay.
That's the hard
Wow.
one. You
Okay.
actually take a physical test at the end
Hmm.
with the dog for your AKC certificate, and then we also give you a certificate.
Okay.
Okay. Then phase two is public access, where we take everything that you've just learned and build on that out in the public. How the dog's supposed to behave, how you're supposed to behave with the dog. We evaluate on uh, the team together, how
Hmm.
they work together, and stuff like that. After they test out of that one, then we go into phase three, which is specific task training. So if you purchase a service dog,
Hmm.
which they're great dogs, they are great dogs. They usually come with about 180 commands.
Wow.
The only issue with that is that if you don't continue with those commands on a regular basis, the dog will forget. It's
Hmm.
kind of like you learning French.
Hmm.
If you don't continue with it, the dog forgets. So that's like every day you're going to go over 180 commands. Not fun. But they are great dogs. Then you also have to spend, I think it's like 6 weeks or so at that training facility with the dog and the trainer,
Hmm.
so you can learn. Uh, and we prefer to do it this way, so the dog and the trainer go together. They're building a bond.
Hmm.
Training with the dog, grooming your dog, that's all bonding. At the end, we ask the veterans to give us what their not. I don't ask them for their disabilities. I ask them what are the tasks that they want their dogs trained on.
Okay.
And if some of them have a hard problem figuring out what the task is versus what's wrong with
Hmm.
them, um, so I'll help them out with that. But they usually walk off with, on top of all the other things that they know, with 6 or 7 specific tasks that dog helps them with, whether it's the diabetes, whether it's stabilizing, helping them get up out of a wheelchair,
Oh
picking
wow.
things up off of the ground for them if they're in a wheelchair.
Hmm.
Um, stuff like that. So the veteran or the emergency personnel just tells us, and then in that specific task training, what we haven't already covered that is not taught to the general public,
Mhm.
then we really zone in on this. Now, some of the tasks, like the diabetes, we have to start at the beginning of the class
Mhm.
because that is not an overnight thing. That is some training there. So things like that.
Well, now you have a lot of information and knowledge about this. It's obvious from talking to you. So you have worked. You're a vet yourself,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, did you have like dog training or something like that as well? Like, what got you into all of this, or
You
you just
know,
woke up one day and said, I know how to
no,
train a dog
I'm not
with
kidding. My
diabetes.
whole family goes, oh, that's the dog whisperer. I'm like, I mean, because like before I moved up here, stray dogs would come to my house in the neighborhood, my house,
Okay.
and then they'd go get their friends and bring their friends. I'm not exaggerating. And then, so my house was like open to all the dogs that were stray in the neighborhood, and so I just started then. I was like, I just love dogs, and so between working with the dogs and training myself and going through courses online and studying and reading and a lot of experience, hands-on experience after years of working with these dogs. It's natural.
Okay, so
It's just so natural for
you're
me.
continuing to build up your knowledge
Hmm.
in helping with dogs, but then you
Yes.
also have that practical experience of years
Hmm.
with the dogs and then the passion to help
Right.
veterans as well as emergency personnel, both former and current,
Correct.
that are disabled, I believe,
Have
right? Had
disabilities. Hmm.
disabilities, not disabled, but have
Hmm.
disabilities. Okay. And
Right.
I saw some of the videos that y'all had online and things like that, but I thank you for giving like this in-depth um, talk about this. I'm sure there's a lot of people in Grove that would want to know about your
Hmm.
organization and probably tell other people about it. So I'm thankful for you letting me know about it today.
Oh, yeah, perfect. I will say that I'm not a guru. Okay. And
You're not a guru, but
I'm not a guru.
you can't. No,
So
there's a biblical text that said, "Let another man praise you."
there you
You're a
go.
guru.
Okay. We do encounter problems, and I encourage people
Okay.
because not one training works for all dogs. So I
Mhm.
encourage people, if something doesn't work, let's go to another instructor. Let's go somewhere else. Let's look at this. Let's try something else.
Okay.
So uh, I have very thick skin.
All
So,
right.
all
Well,
right.
thank you so much for this.
Okay.
And so, if people want to know more about your training,
Yes.
where can they go to find out about that?
So we have a Facebook page. There's two pages.
Okay.
One is Versa Canine for Vets, and that's the one located in the Oklahoma City area.
Okay.
Ours is Versa, VERSA. I'm trying to find a big sign.
Okay. And
Versa Canine for Vets, and we're in Northeast Oklahoma.
okay. And I'll put the Facebook page
Okay.
on the in the description of the video. You said that was one way, and then what's the other way to
You
find out
can call
about you
me.
too?
You can just call me.
And call you.
Uh-huh.
And so, do you have a
I
number?
do. It's 918-837-0130.
All right. All right. Awesome. I have my brochure too, so I can have those contact details. And until next time, we'll see you. Bye bye.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
This is Versa K-9 for
For
vets.
veterans. Yeah.
Okay. Hello, my name is Franklin, and I'm with.
Leigh.
And Leigh was. We're gonna do it again. Whatever. Hello, my name is Franklin. I'm with.
Leigh.
And Leigh was asking me if. Just a minute. We're gonna do
Just
that
say you
again.
came across me.
I met Leigh today at the vendor craft fair. That's what I'm gonna do.
Okay.
All right, here we go. Take three.